Tannon is playing Rug Delver, another deck that he's been playing a lot. He's very familiar with the deck. Both players know what both players are friends. They know what each other are playing. They know the matchup in and out. So should be a pretty tight one.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is going to be an excellent weapon for Tannon, he's got 4 stifles, which is a very common sight to see in Rug Delver these days. It had kind of gone out of favor for a few months there, but it's back, and the stifle ability on a Storm Trigger is really, really good. Now, Adam, on the other hand, with his discard, is probably not going to plan to go off unless he has first checked to make sure the coast is clear. And he's got 4 Duress, 2 Cabal Therapy to help try to make sure that coast is clear.
He also has Gataxian Probe, which can help with the Cabal Therapy, as well as just as a free spell that lets him know, does Tannon have anything to really deal with this or no? Because, you know, Tannon does have 4 copies of Force of Will, he does have 4 copies of Stifle, but some of his other permission are somewhat conditional. You know, you have 4 Days, which Adam can play around, along with 2 copies of Spell Pierce and 1 Spell Snare, which doesn't necessarily counter many of the cards in Adam's deck. It counters Cabal Ritual, but beyond that, there are cards that Adam can continue to use to go off without ever casting a 2-drop.
One of the interesting things about Adam's sideboard here is when I look at it, this is not for this matchup, but I love seeing a card like Ignorant Bliss in Adam Prosak's sideboard. Not for the Rug Delver matchup, but just basically it tosses your hand aside for a brief moment so that any discard that's hitting you will hit nothing, and then it comes back at the end of the turn. Neat little sideboard card. A lot of other interesting cards. Carpet of Flowers, an excellent weapon against decks that use islands. For a single green mana, you can put this enchantment into play that serves as an impressive mana ramp, basically making a mana of your choice for every island that they have in play.
Yeah, very good sideboard options for Adam. And on Tannon's side, you know, a typical sideboard that you'd expect for a Rug Delver. He's got 3 copies of Surgical Extraction that can come in, along with 1 Envelop if he chooses. But again, I think both these players are very good players. They both know their decks very well, and they both know the matchup very well because they're friends and they've actually tested it. So
yeah,
it should be a really close matchup, I think.
Particularly, you know, both of these players are playing, I guess you could say, 2 of the big dogs in the Legacy format, and they both played a lot of Legacy. So they both, even if they weren't friends who've played against each other, they both have a large amount of experience in this matchup.
And I think they both kind of respect the other deck, because you can't go into a Legacy and not respect Rug Delver or Ant. You know, Ant in particular is one of those decks that it's not interactive and it can kill you very quickly. So if you don't respect it, you can easily lose to it.
If you're just joining us, this is round 4 of 8 for the StarCityGames.com Open Series Legacy portion of the Nashville Open. Tannon Grace versus Adam Prosak. Adam on the play, opens with Duress.
So a good start for Adam. He gains a lot of information, gets to see Tannon's hand and get to strip it from one of those counter spells. Likely the Force of Will, and with Spell Pierce and Spell Snare, at least he knows that he can play around those cards if he chooses to. And the interesting thing about the Rug Delver Ant matchup is it really relies on either Delver Secrets or Nimble Mongoose coming into play early, because you want to be able to get one of those cheap threats into play so you can put pressure on your opponent without having to tap out. So Adam actually takes the Spell Snare, likely afraid of it countering a Infernal Tutor perhaps, or a Cabal Ritual, but it's a little surprising there. But obviously Adam knows this matchup very well, so he knows what he's doing.
Tarmogoyf was residing in Tannon Grace's hand, his only pressure, and
this is going to be tough here because he does have turn 1. He drew a Ponder off that for his first turn, so let's see if he's able to get a little more permission. Ooh, he draws top 3 cards are Delver Secrets, Daze, and Gataxian Probe, so a really, really good 3 cards there. This will allow him to either play Tarmogoyf or Delver next turn and still have mana up. Likely, he can go Delver and leave a mana up for the Spell Pierce.
So and he does indeed leave those cards there. Not surprising.
Yeah, exactly the kind of start that Tannon wanted. Even though he had to contend with a turn 1 Duress, he has some more permission on top of his deck that Adam now doesn't know about.
Ponder shows Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor, and I can't catch the last card.
So looks like Adam's just trying to set up these next 2 turns. Usually the critical turn for Ant is 3 or 4. Let's see when he decides he feels like he has to go for it. It looks like that might be a Cabal Therapy, an alternate art Cabal Therapy.
Tannon Grace. He's got Mana in his hand. He's got Tarmogoyf. He's got Delver of Secrets.
I would expect the Delver of Secrets to come down here. It looks like he left the Gitaxian Probe on top of his deck, so that would flip next turn. And he'll have mana up for Spell Pierce. He also has mana available to a card available to pitch to Force of Will.
There's the Delver. And the Secret is waiting right on top of Tannon's library.
So here we go. Lotus Petal usually means that Adam is going to be going for it. Obviously, a Storm deck doesn't want to waste free spells when it doesn't have to. So if he's got, by making these plays, it looks like he's going to go for it. So Brainstorm reveals Infernal Tutor, Dark Ritual, and another Duress. So it looks like he has Cabal Ritual and Dark Ritual along to go with 2 Infernal Tutors and an Ad Nauseam. He has a Cabal Ritual already, so I'm not sure if he needs that Duress, but he has the option to keep it. Let's see here.
You see Adam, in a certain sense, counting with his fingers, trying to help stir the brain along. I know I do that kind of thing as well.
And this is the thing. Generally, Adam knows the key turns where he has to go off, and you can do as much math as you can, but at a certain point, you're going to have to constantly readjust your math and reformulate the equation with the additional information you're getting. So Adam, it really helps if you're familiar with this deck and can pilot it well, which Adam obviously can.
And he pulls out the Spell Pierce. So, and back to Tannon. Tannon reveals the secret, and that secret is Gitaxian Probe.
So surprising there. It looked like Adam was going to go for it there for a second, but I think the casting of the Spell Pierce kind of forced him to slow down a little bit.
Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Ad Nauseam, and Duress.
I believe he might have
2 Infernal Tutors on top of his library.
Yep.
5 cards in his graveyard, so the Cabal Ritual is quite close to being at threshold.
Yeah, I think next turn, if he wants to get at the threshold, he should be able to get there, and he can cast Ad Nauseam if he chooses. He'll have to contend with a Force of Will, but it doesn't look like Tannon can pitch a card to Force of Will and use that Daze, because the only other blue card in his hand is a Daze.
Tannon actually in, I think, real trouble right here.
Yeah, let's see. Tarmogoyf comes down here. So Adam is going to probably cast Duress this turn, and I think he's going to. I think Adam's going to go for it this turn. Here comes the Duress. He'll see the way is clear.
Goodbye, Force of Will. Actually, maybe goodbye, no. Daze.
Yeah, why wouldn't you take the Daze?
Yeah, get the Daze out of there, because you can't cast the Force of Will, but you can cast the Daze.
Yeah, so interesting to see if that costs him here. Obviously, Daze can be played around, but it's going to be tight. It could be the difference between 1 mana and losing the game. So let's see. Ritual gets cast.
I just Daze it right there. Tap that land. Tap that blue source. That's a blue and is that a volcanic?
It's a volcanic island. Yeah. So you keep them off blue and red mana. Red obviously very important for Past in Flames, but yeah, I agree. I would probably just Daze it there.
And Tannon does appear to be thinking about it.
I don't know if it resolved or not. It looks like maybe because I think that die signifies the spell count.
That's the spell count.
So there are currently 2 spells that have been cast. I think Tan is trying to debate whether or not I have to pull the trigger on the Daze now. Obviously, it's not going to get better for you. I think this is... You might not win the game because of it, but I think this is the best situation for you simply because you can tap down the Volcanic Island.
And he lets it happen, I think. I think that gesture was a go-ahead.
So now Adam will be able to cast at Cabal Ritual. So he has access to... He does have Threshold, I believe, so Cabal Ritual will be generating 5 mana if it resolves, and he has 1 black mana left in his pool. So, yep, it resolves, he goes up to 6, and now we're probably going to get an Ad Nauseam here with 1 black left floating.
And Adam Prosak working with 15 life here, sitting pretty for this Ad Nauseam.
So let's see.
13
life.
12. That's unlikely. 12.
Ooh,
Oh,
8. Hello.
Okay.
0.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-oh. Well, he knows he has to contend with the days still. 0, 0. Ooh, 6. So, he has 1 black floating, and he did not play a land. Okay, so 4.
His only ad nauseum and his only past in flames gone. A Tendrils of Agony would kill him.
Yeah, so if he hits a Tendrils of Agony, but he's at 4 right now. He knows he has to play around days still. He did not play. I don't believe he played a land this turn.
That's correct.
So he could, and he still has 1 black floating, so he could still play around days with this. The question is this enough though?
Only 1 card resides in his library that can currently kill him.
Yes.
And it's his kill spell.
So he is going for it. Ooh. All right, so it was a black card, but it is not Tendrils of Agony, so Adam drops to 3 life.
3 life. What set was that printed in, that art?
I'm not sure.
Graveborn, okay.
So we're going for it again, and goes
2.
to 2.
Now
At this point, I think he has to stop. Now the number of cards that can kill him.
Infernal Tutor. We know that those are 2 left in his deck.
Yeah, so he did stop.
Yeah. As well as, I believe, 1 Cabal Ritual left in his deck.
Yeah, so all those cards are now in his grip.
He just leaves them all revealed. Why not?
Yeah, no reason. Makes it easier for him.
He even flips up the last card, you know. Why not?
So let's see if he plays a land here.
Tannon Grace.
He does. He plays a land.
Not playing F6 there, but pretty close.
Uses the black to cast the Dark Ritual. And at this point, not much Tannon can do. That 1 daze in his hand is no longer relevant. There's just simply too much mana accelerate ritual effects in Adam's hand.
I mean, I don't know that it's going to matter that he did not pull the daze trigger earlier, but most of the time, moments like that don't matter.
Oh yeah, I don't think it ended up mattering. I do think though that was probably the best situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Although Adam probably should have just taken the daze.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Take that option out of Tannon's hand.
Yeah, there's really no reason for it. You're obviously going for it this turn. So let's see. He has Adam has 9 mana in his pool. Trying to just make sure that he does this correctly. There are 7 spells on the stack. Needs to cast at least 2 more spells before. Actually, 1 more spell will do it before the Tendrils will be lethal. He's got to find the Tendrils still.
Infernal Tutor does not work to find the Tendrils unless the hand is empty.
So, casts a Past in Flames gets cast here.
Fair.
And start generating some more mana. Kind of tight here. I mean, he still has a Ponder, and he has all those. He has a Brainstorm in his graveyard that he can also use to kind of search through his deck. Again, he has a lot of cards in his hand though, so he needs to try to find the Lion's Eye Diamond to empty his hand, so those Infernal Tutors can just be Diabolic Tutors, or just find that Tendrils.
He's got a lot of mana. Only a few colored sources.
I think he only has that Volcanic Island.
Yeah, he used the Gemstone Mine. And he duresses the Force of Will. Okay. So, and Adam, that Ponder needs to be very good.
It's that, yeah. The fact that he's a little light on blue. But again, here, this could be the situation where if Tannon did days earlier, maybe this isn't even an issue.
And now, actually, we see the moment that it actually mattered.
And here's the Ponder.
It actually mattered that Tannon.
Tannon.
Will he still lose?
Wow.
He still loses. So, never mind. I take it back.
No, he still gets a draw. He still gets a shuffle.
That's right. Shuffle. Right here, it's the cuts.
Wow.
And he's looking for
Lion's Eye Diamond or
Tendrils.
I believe that's that's it.
That's it.
Tannon sweating it. Sweating it a bit.
Only 5 cards to worry about. A small deck.
Adam looking up to the heavens, hoping that God has a slight favor left in his pocket. So let's go. One card.
One time.
Lion's Eye Diamond or Tendrils? No.
No.
So, ooh. So there you have it. Adam Prosak did a lot of nothing. A little unfortunate for Adam. Obviously, things were looking really good for him. But, you know, one of the rare times his deck actually fizzles. You know, you don't see that very often because he has a lot of outs there.
Absolutely.
You know, Lotus Petal would have been reasonable. Would have given him another chance to cast Ponder or Brainstorm. Obviously, Lion's Eye Diamond or just getting that Tendrils of Agony. But a little unfortunate there for Adam. But, again, I think game one can really go in either direction anyway, so let's see if things get better for him in game two.
I mean, one of the things about the ad nauseum there, he had a pretty unfortunate beginning with that ad nauseum, almost immediately hitting Past in Flames, and then the other card he hit, no, it was just that Past in Flames, and then several of the Cabal rituals, hitting him down a lot of life in a very few cards right away.
Yeah, I think he basically went through 10 to 12 cards with that ad nauseum, and it's pretty unlucky to not hit a Lotus Petal or a Lion's Eye Diamond, especially because, you know, he hadn't hit a Lion's Eye Diamond all game, so there were still 4 left in his deck, and there were 3 Lotus Petals left in his deck. So obviously Lotus Petal wouldn't win him the game, but it would at least give him another chance to cast another Ponder or Brainstorm effect, increasing the percentages odds that he would actually get into what he needed. But you know, a little unlucky for Adam, but again, that's the deck. Sometimes, you know, it's very consistent, and the odds that it goes off in that kind of position are pretty high. But you know, every once in a while, you get a little unlucky.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that we have a high tide player in the room who, at some point in the tournament, is going to cast a time spiral, and they're going to draw a handful of nothing. It happens.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say, considering the play skill of both these players, it almost came down to a mistake. You know, if Adam takes that the days instead of the Force of Will, he suddenly doesn't have to concern himself with playing around the days at all. It's never an issue. But he was fortunate in that Tannon didn't actually daze the first Dark Ritual, tapping his colored
mana.
Yeah. So it ended up, I think, making somewhat of a difference because that daze ended up just getting discarded to a duress later in the game. So
it was a big. I mean, Adam gave Tannon that choice, and then Tannon chose not to take it. It was like an interesting back forth of how that could have ended up, and Adam's ability to have 4 additional card looks from that Ponder, that could have been it.
Yeah, and I think maybe Tannon realized that a little too late. Maybe Adam regretted it. But either way, Adam's ad nauseum was pretty bad, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, a lot of times, decisions in Magic don't, and it's sad as it is, a lot of decisions don't influence the turnout. And you know, generally speaking, making good decisions is always better. Giving yourself more outs, giving yourself more opportunities to win. But I've certainly won a number of games by making mistakes and having it work out. You know.
A mistake is only a mistake if your opponent capitalizes on it. If your opponent doesn't capitalize on your mistake, then it's just a funny story that you can tell your friends. So, you know, both players here. Moving on to the next game. Let's see if they can actually... looks like... I don't think they're mulliganing here. I think they're just taking their time. What do you think... What do you think Tannon did for sideboarding here? I think the Surgical Extraction probably comes in. He's got 1 copy of Crossing Grip, probably doesn't need, although he might expect the Carpet of Flowers to come in, although I'm not sure you really want that.
The card I definitely see coming in, 1 Vendilion Click can actually be very effective in this matchup. It's not much in terms of cards, but just being able to knock out, let's say, a single Infernal Tutor in somebody's hand and drop that out of there, it's... One of the things that Adam generally tries to do with his deck is wait. You know, the patience of waiting until the right moment. Adam almost went for it in the turn prior, got 3 spells off, used a duress, and then was like, okay, we gotta wait.
And that kind of tells you how disciplined Adam really is with this deck, because some players, and I even said it when he initially cast the Lotus Petal, I'm like, well, if he's casting that Lotus Petal, usually it means that he's going for it, because as a Storm player, you don't want to waste those free spells, but he started to go for it, realized maybe it close isn't clear yet, let me, gather myself and try to figure out what I'm going to do next turn. So kind of shows you the discipline that Adam has with this deck.
We see a ponder from Adam.
So turn 1 ponder for Adam. Setting up his draws for the next few turns, he goes for the basic island to play around a wasteland from Tannon. What do you think Adam brought in for this matchup?
Cabal Therapy ×1, definitely. I'm not sure if Carpet of Flowers is correct in this matchup. I have only ever played against various Storm combo decks, so Cabal Therapy is the only one I'm very confident in. The other cards that I could see being brought in, Carpet of Flowers is a very reasonable way to push through your opponent's ability to use Spell, Pierce, and Daze. So that's another possibility as well.
And a funny story about Carpet of Flowers, at the Invitational, Adam actually brought in his Carpet of Flowers, but he forgot to bring in his 1 tropical island. And it actually ended up costing him the match because he couldn't cast that Carpet of Flowers. Again, a mistake isn't a bad mistake as long as you learn from it. So we know Adam's never going to do that again.
So, are we going to see a Goose? Are we going to see a Delver?
Nope, it looks like Ponder. So we have a turn 1 Ponder for Tannon. Reveals Spell Pierce, Volcanic Island, and a Wasteland.
Solid weapons, but maybe not what he needs. I didn't catch enough of his hand to know. I see a Tarmogoyf, I see a Force of Will, I see some land.
I think he has a Force of Will and a Delver's Secrets. So he has at least 1 blue card that he can pitch to Force of Will. So he looks like he kept the 3 cards on top, and I believe he drew a Delver's Secrets.
We see while Tannon is tapped out, Adam fetches right away. See what kind of land he gets.
And Adam has 2 Lotus Blooms, Lion's Eye Diamonds in his hand. So very, very important card in this matchup. It allows him to not only generate a lot of mana, but get Hellbent so that the Infernal Tutors can actually just be Diabolic Tutors.
Let's check your hand. Duress.
So let's see. Tannon is going to let the Duress resolve. Probably not going to pitch a card to force it, but
let's see what you got.
So Tannon kept the Wasteland on top of it. He rearranged off the Ponder the Wasteland, and then likely the Spell Pierce is on top of his deck still. So Adam isn't aware that there's going to be another counterspell that Tannon has coming next turn. Although if he could go for it this turn, he could. He knows that there is no permission. But Tannon's going to draw the card. He draws the Spell Pierce. So now Tannon has access to the Taxing Probe to see what Adam's going to be doing next turn.
What do you got over there?
And he'll know how to navigate this next turn now. So it looks like we have a Lion's Eye Diamond, Infernal Tutor, Scalding Tarn, and a Tendrils of Agony.
Good eye on that last one. The glare on it's pretty rough.
Yeah. And interesting here, I think Tannon knows that the top card of his library is a Volcanic Island. So I'm surprised he didn't. I don't know if maybe he doesn't have a sack land. Because obviously you would prefer to play a sack land and get rid of that Volcanic Island and try to draw some more action. So
he does not have a fetch land in his hand.
Yeah, so there's no fetch land in his hand. So decides to just cast Taxing Probe. He's going to draw a card. Now he gets perfect information. Draws that Volcanic Island.
I think we're going to see a Goose come down with a Pierce up. Oh, all in. Goyf.
Yeah, I think Tannon's kind of confident that there's probably... Adam probably doesn't have enough to go off this turn. Ooh, and there's the Carpet of Flowers. So that'll give Adam a little more action for next turn. He can go for the Tropical Island. Hopefully he boarded it in this time. And we can see Carpet of Flowers resolve here.
Carpet of Flowers is one of those classic latter-day cards that were intended to be a hoser, but never really saw play during that era. And then many years later, people revisited it. You can see right there on the left, during your main phase, you may add up to X mana of one card to your mana pool, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. So in this case, Adam can make 2 mana on his next turn, and perhaps more mana on subsequent turns of whatever color he chooses, any one color, which is a huge mana boost.
Yeah, and it allows him the flexibility of, casting permission spells. And this is during your main phase. So if you cast this in an initial main phase, in the second main phase, he can generate the mana. So now he can actually cast Tendrils of Agony, and then he can cast, or actually he can cast Infernal Tutor and sacrifice both Lion's Eye Diamonds. So I think that's what the conversation is about.
Yeah, it's like a green ritual in this moment.
So yes, this is his. So to see here, he cast the Carpet of Flowers in his first main phase, and now we're in his second main phase. So the Carpet of Flowers ability begins. He generates 2 black mana. He casts Infernal Tutor, which is the 4th spell for the turn.
And he's going to response.
Yes, in response, we're going to see both Lion's Eye Diamonds get activated. He's going to discard that Tendrils of Agony, but now he has Hellbent, so Infernal Tutor will effectively be a Diabolic Tutor. He'll be able to search for any card he wants.
Past in Flames is going to be something he's going to use to recast the Tendrils of Agony later when he's ready. And he might be able to do it right now, depending on how much goodness is in his graveyard.
Yeah, so it looks like he has 3 red mana, or no, maybe 3 blue, 3 black, and there's only 4 spells currently on the stack. So Tendrils isn't lethal just yet. And here comes the Ad Nauseam.
Whoa.
Oop. So Ad Nauseam gets revealed. The centerpiece, more or less, to Adam's deck. Allows him to draw as many cards as you want. We saw that in the first game. This game, though, sitting at 17 life and with a lot more mana to work with. And also, unlikely he's going to fizzle.
Yeah, and one of his 4-drops already in the grave.
Yeah, so a little more flexibility to go dig a little deeper. So there's a Lion's Eye Diamond, perfect.
17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10. Time to think.
So let's see here. Might want to go a little bit more. He has 1 blue mana left in his pool. Ad Nauseam still in the stack, debating whether or not he wants to go any more. He's at 10 life currently. There are 5 spells in the stack. So really wants a Past in Flames here. He does have the Infernal Tutor and a Lion's Eye Diamond, so it can be Hellbent. But might need another ritual effect in order to really get going with that.
And they're basically doing some accounting. 9. 8.
Really wants a ritual effect here.
6.
Maybe he's thinking with those Gitaxian probes, is that going to be enough to dig for what I need?
Stops at 6 life.
He has 1 mana floating along with 2 lands. I don't believe he played a land this turn either, or did? Oh no, he did.
He played the Tropic Island.
Played the sack land to get a Tropic Island. So he already played a land this turn. He has 1 mana floating along with 2 untapped lands. He does have the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Uses a blue. Casts Ponder.
Oh, there's some rituals, and there's another Lion's Eye Diamond. So
boom, now he's good.
All right, now he's in good shape. Pretty good cards there. He can draw both of them because he has a Gitaxian probe as well. So looks like he'll probably keep all 3 of those cards on top of his deck. He's just doing the math right now. Infernal Tutor for Past in Flames. Ritual, is that enough mana though? That's the question. Yeah, with only 1 ritual effect to flashback, it might not. Maybe it's not enough. Although 4, no, I think he. Yeah, he's doing the math. It's going to be tight because he doesn't have a lot of ritual effects in his graveyard. Even though he has Lion's Eye Diamonds, those Lion's Eye Diamonds won't matter when you cast Past in Flames. So Adam doing the math to make sure that he basically needs to cast Infernal Tutor with Hellbent to search for a Past in Flames, cast the Past in Flames, and then flashback the Tendrils of Agony, which will require 10 mana in total.
Probe, what you got? Not much.
So he did keep the 3 cards on top of his library. He's going to draw a Lion's Eye Diamond and Dark Ritual. Going to play one of the Lion's Eye Diamonds, to play the second one, cast Dark Ritual. So now he has 3 black mana in his mana pool. Activate cast Infernal Tutor with Infernal Tutor on their stack, sacrifice both my Lion's Eye diamonds, generate 7 mana.
Response black and red, or maybe just red and blue.
So his hand goes through.
No, it goes black and red.
Does he have another Tendrils in his deck? I don't think so. He did. Yeah, there's no other Tendrils. Yeah, so there's the Past in Flames. And yeah, so he's 7 mana. Looks like he has 3 mana floating, and he has the 1 mana up from the island, so he can just flash back Tendrils Agony. Yep.
Boom, boom, boom. There
so
we go.
That does it. Adam Prosak does the math and manages to win game 2 off of with a slightly better ad nauseum, but still one where he had to. It wasn't the easiest thing. He still had to do a lot of math, but again, Adam managed to get there.
A lot of people really don't like decks that are the various variants on Storm. But when I watch Adam play, what I really like is the way that there's this puzzle he's trying to construct. And the decks like Tannon Grace's Rug Delver can put up resistance in ways that are very meaningful. So I actually really like the existence of decks like Adam's in this format, even if it does mean that some players who might be playing a deck that's more fair, and I know Patrick Chapin liked to call them the enemy in Legacy. He's like, these Mother of Ruin decks, I love it when Tess and when Ant beat them, that's the greatest. I'm not in Patrick's camp, but I do understand that if you're going to play one of the more fair decks, you better have a plan for all of the Storm decks, whether it's, you know, cards like Thalia or whatever the case may be. I like how these decks play out. A certain kind of player like Adam has to work hard against the opponents who are actually prepared for him.
And yeah, I think that's the. I know a lot of players who aren't combo players. They don't generally like combo decks because it's not a lot of fun to play against combo decks. You know, they're not non-interactive. If you saw Tannon's basically just sitting there waiting for Adam to do math. I mean, all of us have been in positions where we're playing against a combo deck where the person's just struggling to go off, and you're crossing your fingers hoping they fizzle, but inevitably they never fizzle. They always beat you. But the thing about combo is, it's one of those staples of Magic where you need combo decks to exist because they make for a more well-rounded metagame, and they're also really great skill testers. I mean, if you can see there's so many decisions that Adam has to make, not only to make sure he doesn't fizzle, but to also make sure that he plays around all the cards that Tannon could potentially have. So I think there's a lot of thought and, that go into not only designing the deck, but in playing them. And over the course of a long tournament, with 8-9 rounds, your brain is going to be put to the test. And I think there are certain people that really enjoy that. You know, they love that brain teasers, so to speak, because you're basically just playing a brain teaser every round.
It's also one of those things that at the end of the day, you might just be exhausted. There's a real skill in essentially being in a mental workout the entire day.
And that's why you don't see a lot of people picking up these decks because, one, they're very skill intensive. They require you to know the deck inside and out, and they're exhausting. I mean, you're basically crunching numbers every single round. You're like an accountant. And, nobody wants to be an accountant on the weekends. So I think that there's a lot of people who don't enjoy playing the deck just because of how frustrating it can be, how much effort and thought you have to put into every one of your rounds. You're never given a break. But there are people who really enjoy that. And I think the people who enjoy that, they're the ones who keep playing combo decks over and over and over again. And Adam is an expert with Ant because he constantly plays it. He puts in the work.
There are a lot of combos in Legacy, and this is one of the preeminent ones. Other combos, if you're a combo player, you've got decks like Enchantress, you've got decks like Elves, and many of these combo decks, they have a very streamlined nature of how they play. What is, I think, kind of unique to the various Storm decks is that they just generate a ton of mana, and then through the generation of that mana, use that single Storm spell to kill you.
Yeah, and it looks like Tannon is deciding whether or not he wants to keep. We do see, it looks like both players kept, and we see a Stifle in Tannon's hand along with a turn 1 Ponder. So let's see if Tannon can get a early threat. There looks like there's a Tarmogoyf on top of his deck to go along with double Stifle, Wasteland, and some lands.
I wouldn't be. I'm not sure if he has any threats in his hand. Is he gonna keep that?
Yeah, maybe. I think you might. It's not a great hand, but I think you might need to keep it because you just need a threat. Like you can't afford to pass on turn 2 with no threat in play.
So on the next turn, he's going to draw a land off the top of his library, probably fetch to shuffle away the other land, and then drop a Tarmogoyf, or perhaps another threat if he happens to have one in his hand.
Yeah, so not ideal. He will be forced to draw at least one more land to go along with the other 4 lands in his hand. But, you know, he does have the fetch land to get rid of the third land that's not in his deck.
You see Adam here once again fetching an island. He's well aware of the threat that is represented by Tannon Grace's Wastelands. Rug Delver with 4 Wastelands as a normal thing, and the new normal is 4 Stifle.
So we know Tannon has a double Stifle. Doesn't really have any permission. Stifle obviously very good against Tendrils of Agony. The problem with that is at the point where Adam is usually going off, he'll usually get at least a Duress, possibly a Cabal Therapy to sort of clear the path for those Stifles. So, or even a Gataxian Probe will let Adam know, okay, this is what I have to contend with. So he's not going to just play into a Stifle effect. So while Stifle is a good card, it's not really a game ender against Storm.
Definitely not. Particularly because Adam is not going to just walk into it. I was talking with several Legacy people about possible sideboard cards, and they were like, yeah, that's great if you're playing against an idiot Storm player.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, no one's going to walk into that. They're going to probe you. They're going to dress you. They're going to... I'm like, okay, you got it.
Yeah, there's a reason those cards exist in the deck. You can't stifle a Dark Ritual, you can't stifle a Cabal Ritual, and you can't stifle Ad Nauseam. They're going to get those cards off, and then once those cards resolve, that's when they're going to start arresting you, Cabal Therapying you, and making sure the path is clear before they go off.
We see the hand, Stifle, Wasteland, Volcanic Island, Polluted Delta.
So I think Adam is okay with seeing that hand, only having to contend with a Stifle right now. Tarmogoyf is a threat, but it's certainly better than Tarmogoyf plus Force of Will plus Spell Pierce.
Yeah, now currently Tarmogoyf is listed there as an Elvish Warrior, but I believe it is actually...
it should be a 3/4.
A Simian Grunt.
So it looks like we have 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds on Adam's side of the board.
Okay, let's make sure that we get the actual... And they're checking.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
3/4. Sorcery, instant, and land. So Tarmogoyf is a 3/4.
That's a Serendib, right? In for 3.
And looks like we drew another Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, here they come. Double the clock. Now
Right.
Adam on a 3-turn clock, currently.
So Adam, but the good thing is Adam, the Tarmogoyf was off the top, so now Adam knows that he only has to deal with the Stifle, and he does have a Cabal Therapy in his hand to get rid of it.
Main phase Brainstorm. Infernal Brainstorm.
Triple Infernal type tutor.
And he's like, that's too much. Let's get rid of some of you guys.
A little too many.
Too much.
Let's get rid of that Stifle before I play my sack land.
Out of here. Away it goes. Wasteland and a land left in Tannon Grace's hand.
So I think, you know, Adam's in good shape here. Probably not going to go off this turn. He still needs a ritual effect, but he can sack his land, or he can just cast Brainstorm, and he still has another Cabal Therapy to make sure that the coast is cleared next turn.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I guess there are more waste. He knows that there's a wasteland in Tannon's hand, so never mind my surprise on not fetching.
Yeah, I don't believe he has a. Does he have another basic in his? He has 2 islands.
Just two basics. 1 island, 1 swamp.
Oh, he has 2 islands.
Oh, he does have another basic.
So
Never mind
he
then.
chooses to. So let's see if Tannon drew another Stifle.
Nope.
All right, so we're going for an island here, or perhaps Volcanic Island. Nope, basic island. So Adam, this turn, I mean, Adam is at 9. He can survive 1 more attack from the Tarmogoyfs, but then he'll put himself in Lightning Bolt range. So not sure if he wants to risk it or just try to go for it this turn. I mean, there's only 1 card in Tannon's hand that he's not aware of, and he does have a Cabal Therapy. So let's see if Adam decides to go for it this turn. Draws his card for the turn. It's a Carpet of Flowers. Wow. So Not really useful in this situation.
Well, Carpet is a green ritual right now if he gets a land.
He doesn't have another land to get. If he draws another fetch land, he can cast it. But let's see, Brainstorm. If he can get that Scalding Tarn or Polluted Delta or a Gemstone Mine. Oh, he gets a Scalding Tarn. It looks like he has a third Lion's Eye Diamond here. Wow.
I think he might be able to win right now.
They say he's in reasonable shape.
The question is if he can build the Storm up high enough. He needs a Storm of 10 in order to be able to finish Tannon off, with Tannon's life total being so high.
Yeah, well, he can get the in Past in Flames, so I think he's in pretty good shape. With 3 Lion's Eye Diamonds and the Carpet of Flowers, he's in pretty good shape here. I think he has a Cabal Therapy on his hand. I'm trying to decide what's the other card he wants to put. Oh, it looks like a Duress. Wow, so it's going to be tricky here. It doesn't look like he's going to have a Duress effect to make sure that Tannon drew nothing this turn.
And then I'm not sure, does Adam have any rituals? Like rituals that a Past in Flames would let him reuse?
No. But 9 mana is a lot. I believe that's, yeah. 9 mana is a lot of mana, so I don't know. Not sure he needs it.
Tannon could, if he wanted to, cut it down to 8 mana by wastelanding one of his own islands in response to the Carpet of Flowers.
It's true. Yeah, so this is this is very tight, because you're right, he doesn't have a Dark Ritual, doesn't have a Cabal Ritual to flash back, so looks like he put those ritual effects back on top of his library, and he's going to sack a Scalding Tarn to get Tropical Island.
There it is.
So he goes to 7. He could get Ad Nauseam here, but at 7 life,
it's pretty weak Ad Nauseam. Yeah. Carpet of Flowers.
Wow.
Oh, Doctor.
So the one card that Adam didn't know about was a Spell Pierce. Wow. So there are 3 spells on the stack.
Oh, Adam dead on the next turn unless... Oh, yeah. That little look. Oh,
4
nice,
spells,
nice.
5 spells, 6 spells, 7 spells, 8 spells, 9 spells. So he can Infernal Tutor for another Infernal Tutor.
Crack.
7 spells. So
boom.
Sax generates 9 mana in response to the Infernal Tutor.
He can, I believe, chain Infernal Tutors into Infernal Tutors, and then from there wrap it up.
I think he's doing the math now. So it's 6, 7 spells in the stack, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and he has 9 mana. So he'll be able to. He has no cards in his hand. He can search for an Infernal Tutor, use 2 mana to search for another Infernal Tutor, use that Infernal Tutor to search for Tendrils of Agony, and that'll be enough Storm cards. That'll be enough spells to have the Tendrils of Agony be lethal. And Tannon has just lands in his hand, so there's no way to stop this. Trying to do the math, make sure there's enough mana. And then there's the Tendrils. And that's the 10th spell for the turn. Storm for 21. Just making sure the numbers are correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And your Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
My Spell Pierce? Yep.
Yep. So it is 10
That's
spells,
it.
and Adam Prosak wins 2-1 versus Tannon Grace. And both all 3 of those games, Adam looked to be in firm control. And the only reason he lost the first game was because of an unlucky Ad Nauseam. So Adam looked to be in firm control pretty much the entire match, to the point where I question how good this matchup is for Rug Delver.
I mean, it's one of those matchups where it's on a razor's edge. I mean, you only have so much disruption that you can have in your hand. If you have a ton of disruption, what has he got? 4 Stifle, 4 Force of Will, 1 Spell Snare, 2 Spell Pierce, 4 days.
He does have 3 copies of Surgical Extraction, which would have been good in either of those scenarios.
Yeah.
But only 3 copies of Surgical Extraction. That's really the only card, along with a 1 Vendalion Click. And we talked about the Invitational when we saw Ant before. Ant is one of those decks. You know how powerful it is You know there are cards you can have to hate it out. The problem is Legacy is such a diverse format. You can't really devote more than 3, maybe 4 cards to any one particular deck.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the cards you play, you hope they have a little redundancy in matchups. Like a card like Pyroblast can come in against a lot of different decks, you know? So you can see people playing a lot of those. Submerge is another card, you know?